Amber Tresca, and this is about IBD. It's my mission to educate people living with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis about their disease and to bring awareness to the patient journey. Welcome to episode 81. During the summer, we were all concerned about what school would look like in the pandemic. We went back and forth about the choices that we needed to make for our families. My family decided on the hybrid model. What this means is that my 10-year-old goes to in-person school every day for about 2.5 hours, and she completes the rest of her instruction from home. I try to check in with my kids regularly about how they're doing with hybrid school and how they think their classmates are doing. But even now, when we're all on top of each other all the time, we're often tending to our own work, and my schedule in particular continues to be hectic. That's why I decided to sit down with both of my kids and find out how they've been coping with the pandemic, what their worries are, and what their hopes are for the future. The last time I interviewed them was in 2018 on episode 25. So it was time to hear their voices again. In this episode, you'll hear my daughter, and in the next episode, which will be 82, you'll hear my son. My daughter has a good understanding of what we're doing to keep ourselves and others safe and what it might mean if one of us becomes ill. She was really excited to be interviewed and to work together on developing this episode. I hope our conversation gives you some hope as well as a few laughs. Stay to the end to hear her tips on how kids can talk to their parents about things that are worrying them. How old are you?
10.
And what grade are you in?
5th.
And what's school like right now, 5th grade?
Well, it's gone pretty good. We actually haven't gotten any cases. Well, actually, we have. We did have a case, but it wasn't a kid. It was an adult. And we just had to sit out for a few days, but we came back. And I think school is going pretty good. We're doing hybrid, and things are going nicely. And the best part is that it's only 3 hours. And then if we went back full time, it would be like, oh my gosh, how much more longer do I have to sit here?
You say case. What do you mean case? Case of what?
Case of COVID, or probably just any sickness, really.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, you have not been in full-time school since last March. So I'm trying to calculate how many months that is right now.
It's been like 7.
It's been like 6 months.
Yeah. 8 months. Yeah.
And you finished up 4th grade.
Completely
remote.
Yeah.
And then 5th grade, we had a choice for 5th grade of doing full remote still, or going into what they call hybrid. So what does this mean, hybrid? What's hybrid school for you in 5th grade?
Well, hybrid means that you're doing both. So you're not only doing remote, but you're also doing in person. So it's either cohort A or cohort B for different times. So if you're in cohort A, you would be in the morning. So you would come in there, you'd be at 8 o'clock, it would still be 3 hours, and then you would have remote learning after school. And then if you're in cohort B, which I am in, you would do, remote things in the morning and, have like art or PE and, do that virtually. And then you would come to school at 12 o'clock and it would be in like the afternoon, and then you come back at like 3, which is good because I am a little bit rushed with my things.
What are some of the things that you need to do when you go to school in order to make sure that kids and adults are not spreading the virus?
Well, what you have to do is you definitely have to wear a mask, obviously, but you have to keep it on at all times, and you have to stay at least 6 or 3 feet apart. And our tables, it's two people at a table, and so for cohort A and cohort B, they split it up. So it's like 8 people in this group, 8 people in that group. So it's less people. So it's 2 people at each table, and then you would also probably have to stay distanced. When you're in the hallway, most of the kids are not the best at doing that because you can't really predict if you're 6 feet or 3 feet. But we do pretty good at staying distanced. Also, if you want to take like a water break, you just like turn around and take your mask off really quickly, and just take a water sip. And then we also do a mask break, and we would just go outside for 10 minutes. Be socially distanced, and just take off our mask and breathe for 10 minutes. But sometimes, actually probably all the time, we actually everyone splits up. So it'll be way more than 6 feet apart. Like, people will go to like a tree, and then people go to like another tree, and like some people would like go to the rocks and like dig holes or something. I don't know why, but that's pretty much what we've been doing.
Do you remember the first day that we went back to school, your first day of hybrid school?
Well, yes, I actually do remember the first time of hybrid. I was actually quite scared. I did not know what was going on. I was like, okay, what do I do? And, I was so stressed that, I started sweating. And then at the end of the day, I would come and I would be like sweating. So, and then when we did, what was it? Was it the trial run?
Yeah, there was initially the first thing that we did, thank you for reminding me because I actually forgot, was that you went to school for a day prior to starting your real classes. So we went over and you were there for like an hour and a half, something like that. And I think it was basically like to meet your teacher, just to understand how the drop-off and the pickup procedure would go, because there are some things that are involved there as well. Like, for instance, you need to use some hand sanitizer before you go into the school.
Yes,
right?
Definitely. And what they used to do, they still probably ask you to do it now, but you would go in there and actually, before you do that, they actually told us on the trial run that you probably have to, before you come into school, take your temperature. Now, we actually started doing this, but later on, it didn't really matter so much. I think people kind of slacked on that. So, we also had to, like, every mask break, we would always just get, like, a squirt of hand sanitizer also when we come in.
Yeah, so it's a lot to remember, right?
Yes, I actually remember it because it's, like, so stuck in my mind.
Yeah, I just remember the first day, probably at the teacher meetup day, and then also on your first day, many of you hadn't seen each other. Now, we had seen some of your friends here and there outside at different points during the summer, but this was the first time that you were back together with your classmates. And it struck me because you guys all got in line 6 feet apart, and we're getting ready to go into the classroom. And then there's only one class in the hallway at any particular time.
Yeah.
So we were standing outside, and obviously we all know each other. It's a small neighborhood school, and you guys were very quiet. It was quiet. You guys weren't really talking to one another. I was a little bit concerned that in the beginning, you guys would be so excited to see one another that you would be running up and hugging and all of this. But what happened was so the exact opposite, that I was a little worried at first because I thought maybe that school would turn out to be really stressful for you guys.
And yes, it was stressful, but the reason I think it was probably, and still now, it's very stressful for everyone, and people know that they're not supposed to do this, and they're like afraid to do it. So they're just like will come up to me, and she would be like, "Oh, hi," and then like she would like kind of like back up a little bit to avoid like trying to hug me.
Right, but now it's different. Now
yes,
you guys are.
Now it's different.
Yeah, you guys are more what I would have expected to seen from the very beginning. Although you do keep your distance, you guys aren't hugging on each other. You sometimes get a little close, even outside. So I think everyone's gotten more comfortable. It's been quite some time since I've had to remind anybody to put their mask on or to put their mask over their nose, which is lovely. So I think the kids are getting used to wearing masks while they're at school. It seems like it's actually going pretty well. It's exceeded my expectations, I think, for in-person school. I also want to ask you, though, about what it has been like to be physically distant this whole time, because we have had some outdoor play dates here and there, but for the most part, we've been keeping to ourselves. We've gone to the zoo a couple of times. We go to the beach a lot, but just our family. And I'm wondering how that has been for you and what your thoughts are on it, because I think due to the fact that we don't know how COVID-19 would affect me, we've probably been more strict about the physical distancing than other people are.
Yeah, so I think it's fine that, I have to be outside with my friends, and, that's good. So for the beach, I think it's fine that we're just by ourselves, and I think we've probably been good on things, We haven't really done any, inside things. We have done a lot outside, and I think it's whatever is appropriate for this kind of time is what I'll have to stick with. So I just think that's pretty good. Oh, and the zoo is good because we've only been there with a few friends, and we've all kept our distance, and we come early, so there's nobody there. So that's good.
What do you think is the thing that you miss most about not having to be physically distant and to stay at home?
I haven't really missed much. I do miss going inside with my friends, and especially since some of my friends, they're always baking, and then I'd bake with them, and we would make cinnamon rolls, cookies sometimes, and that was really great. And then sometimes when I go inside with my friends, we do drawing, we play Mario Kart, and we also, jump on the bunk bed, we play Roblox, and it's been, I just miss that.
You miss being in person with your friends. Yeah, and as it gets colder, it's been more challenging to be outside. We don't want to be outside.
Yeah, especially since it's getting to winter now, and you can't, if we're only allowed to be outside and we want to go with a friend, we can't really because it's super cold outside. Mm-hmm. So it's getting less and less of the opportunities to be with a friend. Mm-hmm.
What do you think you want to do when it's okay for us to go and go back to life the way that it was before the pandemic?
I think I would want to do everything. I would go to Disney. I would want to go back to West Palm Beach. I would want to go everywhere, just everywhere in general that we've been to.
It sounds like travel, though. You want to get back to traveling again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love traveling.
Yeah, I know you do. Ever since you were very small, we took you everywhere that we went with us, obviously. And you always did really well. And you liked riding on the plane. Car was not your favorite.
No, I usually get car sick, but I'm not so car sick that I throw up. It just feels like I'm going to, but I don't. And even if you mention just going to a hotel, I will be like, yay! Because I like going to hotels, because they're always so fun. I don't know why.
Do you think that you're doing okay during this time?
I think, things have been going pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Are you worried about getting sick with COVID?
Not really, because if I do, since I'm a child, I know it won't be as bad for me as it is for people who are a lot older, but I still think just because I'm a child doesn't mean that it will be great. So I think I'd probably be okay. I'd probably just have to like stay in bed a lot and, I don't know, drink soup all day, although I'm not a fan of soup, but I just probably have to do that.
Are you concerned about my getting sick with COVID or your dad?
Yes, because you guys are older than me and it could be more of a risk. And if you guys get sick, who will like take care of us? Because you probably obviously have to be somewhere. And
where would we have to be?
I don't know, probably in bed or in the hospital or
hopefully not the hospital.
Well, not the hospital, but like I don't know, honestly, where
we'd
you
have
would
to
go.
we'd have to be separated probably if one of us got sick. Yeah.
But I'm more worried about what would happen to you guys more than being separated because you know, things you don't know what could happen, and I just think that we'll try and be more careful if one of you ever gets it.
Do you have anything else that you want to add?
Okay, so my question for you is, how would you feel if I got COVID?
Well, logically, I know that you are young and you're healthy, and so you would do well. There's a small chance that you could have a more serious course, and we would have to deal with that. But I also know that we have excellent resources where we are here, and we're very privileged in that way. I think while you were ill and recovering, I would be very anxious. I don't know that I would be able to sleep well. I don't think that I would want you to be separate from me, so I would probably still want to be near you, and that would mean that we would have to be very careful. The thing that worries me most is that I could unknowingly pick up the virus, for instance, running an errand or doing something where I can't be distanced from other people, and bringing it home and making you or your brother or your father sick. That would be really upsetting to me, and that's probably the thing that I worry about most.
Aww. So hear me out. If I ever do get COVID or any of us get COVID, we will have to stay in bed, and you would probably have to like put a slot, like make a slot in the door and just like slide food and water through it, and you know, like a blanket, and you would probably like use like text or walkie-talkie if you need anything. And they would probably have to like not talk, so if they if any one of us, like if that person in bed talks, they could probably be spreading what they already have. So you would just have to like stay in bed and just be like, okay, I'm gonna get my phone. Mom, can you get me some chicken? You'd be like that. And then he would, like, chicken would come through the slide. It's like a bag of chicken. You'd be like, okay, thanks. And then, you know, and then if it was like, I don't know, for like a few days or maybe a week, it would be funny because then like your text slot would be like so full. It would be like so many texts from you wanting food and water and a blanket and whatever. So I think it's just funny, but that's probably what you would have to do. It's not easy to talk about things that are bothering us. That's why I have 5 tips for kids on how to talk to their parents. Tip number 1, think about what you want to say ahead of time. If you have something you want to talk about, make a plan about how you'll bring it up. That will make it easier for you. Tip number 2, pick a good time and place to talk. It's better to have a good talk when you're feeling like it. It's also helpful to find a place where you will be comfortable and won't be interrupted. Tip number 3, try to be honest. It's okay to ask for help from your parents when you need it. They'll want to know if you are worried or unhappy about something. Tip number 4. Be patient with your parents. Parents don't always understand everything about being a kid in the modern days, so you might have to help them with some things. Tip number 5. Take a break and talk again another time if you need to. Sometimes it takes more than one time to talk over everything that you're feeling.
Hey, super listener. Special thanks this week goes to my daughter for sitting down with me to talk about the pandemic and for helping me write some tips for kids on how to talk to their parents. My daughter doesn't have social media handles for you to follow her, but I will ask you to do something different instead. My daughter is the kindest person I know. So this week, she asks that you do something kind for another person. I, however, am on social media, and you can find me across all platforms as About IBD and on my website at aboutibd.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, until next time, I want you to know more about IBD. About IBD is a production of Mal and Hal Enterprises. It is written, produced, and directed by me, Amber Tresca. Mix and sound design is by Matt Cooney. Theme music is from Cooney Studio.
Okay, good job. Now, do you have any questions left for me?
I think that was all the questions I was going to ask you.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah.